Spectrum wants to hear your views. You can SMS at any time during the show. Type Spectrum, leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
Very warm welcome. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. I'm your host, Edmond Kizito. On Spectrum, tonight we're reviewing the week. What are we going to be looking at? 1. The National ID Project. There has been a report into how the 200 billion shilling project was frustrated. This report is now under consideration by Parliament, but the committee that carried out the investigation has recommended that former ministers Chirunda Chivejinja, Alintuma Nsambu, Chiduma Kobya and the PS, Minister of Internal Affairs, Dr. Stephen Kagoda, be held accountable. The challenges that ranged from mishandling the procurement process and loss of taxpayers' money. The NRM has tried to block the debate of this report, but pressure from other legislators was overwhelming. Parliament will take a final decision on the matter next week, so we'll be looking at that issue in detail with our guests. Immunity of the President. A cross-section of parties is pushing for the removal of the immunity of the President, specifically on matters of corruption. They want it to be limited, saying State House should be deterred from engaging in procurement and other affairs, given the fact that it has been linked to almost all major corruption scandals in Uganda. MPs are unhappy that presidential directives have often led to gross errors, which have caused loss of large amounts of taxpayers' money, and many ministers, when they're caught with their hands in the tail, they say they took decisions basing on a directive from the president. Now, the Constitution says a sitting president cannot be prosecuted, but the MPs is saying the fight against graft, the president should not be above the law. We'll be looking at that in detail. Look at the polls in Masaka. Some people think the NRM is bound to lose it, with the DPs, Matthias and Subuga, taking it. The Kavaka's name has been dragged into the politics. We'll be looking at that and other issues on Spectrum. Tonight, our guest, Hon Bernard Atiku, Member of Parliament for Ayivu County. You're a member of the FDC party. You're most welcome, Hon Bernard Atiku.
Thank you, Edmond. Good evening, listener.
Edmond.
We'll
be joined by Mr. Nyago, Deputy Principal Private Secretary to the President. We're expecting to join us anytime shortly. You can contribute by sending a text message to 7197. That is Spectrum. Message, question or comment, send it to 7197. Honorable Atiku, this National ID Project, it's been going on for quite some time. How should it have been handled?
Thank you, Edmond. And listen out there, I believe you have all had a very good week. And of course, all the time, Friday marks a time when people take leave of the hectic working hours. Nonetheless, I want to congratulate all of you for a successful week, and those that face challenges, of course, that is a motivation for another week. We want to, Edmond, through you, send condolences to a colleague on Spectrum, that is Nicholas, who lost a dear one, I think a grandmother. May her soul rest in eternal peace, and I believe all of us who are close friends are with him in this difficult moment. Coming to the point, Edmond, you've asked, is this how this matter should have been handled? This is a very pregnant question. First and foremost, it mirrors to you how a state is supposed to function, because this is just one project that should have been handled by a ministry, and that is why we have institutions in place. And when a government exists, the government functions through institutions, and in this case, the National ID Project indeed should have been handled by, yes, Internal Affairs Ministry in collaboration with other ministries. And that means, not means, but really perfect, in a perfect situation, a ministry is an institution that operationalizes or functions on behalf of the central government to ensure that services are delivered. So in this case, the rightful ministry that should have handled this, or that is supposed to handle this project, is Ministry of Internal Affairs, because capturing details of all the citizens of this country and keeping them safely for the various purposes that is supposed to serve. I believe the Ministry of Internal Affairs was the right ministry, and for that matter, really rightly undertook that initiative in collaboration with the Ministry of ICT. Of course, capturing data concerning individuals and storing them meant using some recent technology that is in form of the computers and other softwares that are involved. So the collaboration between the Ministry of ICT and Internal Affairs and also Electoral Commission, I think, really served the right purpose to ensure that a good job is done. But the problem comes, and as rightly it has turned out to be a fraudulent project, was when the Minister of of ICT purportedly introduced a company to the President, and then the President goes ahead to endorse this company as the rightful company to deliver or to undertake this national ID project, and the intricacies that came out after this introduction, and it kind of brings out how business has been handled in this government. You have heard of the President going out to court investors, and I think the Honorable Minister, then State Minister then of ICT, the Honorable Kintu, also came, I think, in that direction, that I'm bringing a good company and they have experience in ABCD and for that matter. So really, I would condemn the idea of introducing the company, but we have got other institutions that handle projects or programs of government. For instance, the PPDA,
the Public Procurement
and Disposal of Assets institution,
yes,
that was recently created, or an authority that was recently created to ensure that the vetting of any service supplier or service giver to government must have certain basic standards observed. So really, that's where, if one was to ask where Honorable Kintu should have given his opinion, he could have shared it with the President informally, but the rightful institution should have been his ministry, together with the Ministry of Internal Affairs. And really, I don't think I wasn't taking it in the right direction, because it is not proper for the minister to begin identifying a company.
Yes.
What they should have said is, yes, we have a need for national IDs. Let the ministry advertise, show interest that we need this.
Right.
Can the responsible institution, the PPDA, look into how to get this?
Just like they do with other things.
Exactly.
Why do you think he did what he did, sidestepping the PPDA?
I don't think he did sidestep. What I think is live here is the element of conflict of interest,
yes,
and also influence peddling.
Yes.
Because you can see how the story has developed from the Honorable Kintu, from identifying this company and then introducing it to the President, and then whatever unfolded after his introduction,
yes,
became flawed, because that's when now these directives start coming in, directing the Minister of Internal Affairs to ensure that the company is awarded.
That particular, not any other, but that particular.
Exactly, that particular company is awarded this project or contract, and even as if that was not enough, they came up with the single sourcing contractual identity that use single sourcing. Don't advertise. Don't open it to other.
Whatever you do, don't bring in any other.
Exactly.
Whatever you do.
So really, that alone confused the whole thing. So the Ministry of Internal Affairs, which was meant to express interest for this national ID project, of course now automatically became, twisted. Right. They could not do anything. Letters were adduced as in the report of the committee that investigated this project. So many correspondences. And in this case, I want to applaud the PPDA board, because several times the permanent secretary for Ministry of Internal Affairs wrote to the PPDA board to ensure that things are done, because if the project is failed, the company is failed, his neck will be on the nose. But the PPDA board stood by their ground. They said the PPDA Act spells this. Therefore, there's no shortcut. You either abide by this, or you face the consequences. You carry the burden.
Right.
And indeed, that is what took the day. The powers that be forced their way, and I'm happy with the committee of Parliament that investigated it. They've come out clear to the extent of putting the ministers at that time responsible. The former minister Kirunda Kivejinja, the former minister Alintu Mansambu, the permanent secretary of Internal Affairs, because as a technocrat,
he should have advised.
Yeah, who wrote letters and what have you. The letters he wrote to PPDA requesting them to move faster, and then the letter from the PPDA advising him on what to do as a technocrat. So you can say really there was a lot of compromise in this, and the people who have been recommended by this committee must face their fate, and really indeed the taxpayers' money must be recovered.
Oh, you think we should recover the money?
The money.
We can move on. We need to move forward as a nation. We can't keep going back. We lost the LC bicycles. Why should we keep going backwards?
This cannot be tolerated, my brother. If you look at the scourge, the impact of the scourge of corruption in this country, the state of the roads, the state of electricity, the hospitals, the schools, teachers were demonstrating the other day about their salaries, doctors, So in this kind of circumstance, we cannot lose 200 billion and say we look at another direction, just the way the minister put it the other day during the budget speech, that the Wananchi, the citizens of Uganda, must pay for the IDs. Now that would be a double cost on us.
What do you think of that? Do you think we should pay for them?
No. There's no way. This would be double taxation.
10 or 20,000 an individual. Because the other money is lost. Let's move forward.
It's not that way. And I want to appeal to the public. We cannot accept to be cheated in this manner, in broad daylight. The 200 billion was not a gift from government. It was taxpayers' money, despite it being borrowed. You can imagine this is a borrowed money. That means our children are going to pay for this loan. Even us, even as we talk, we would be already paying for this money. Now again, buying the IDs will mean another cost on us in getting our identity on record. So really, this was total thuggery, and I believe Parliament is moving in the right direction. We must get these ministers, whether they have left the dockets, wherever they exist, we must get them to book. And to a certain extent, as we shall be seeing through the debate, the president has been, when you read the report, the president has played a bigger role in all this mess. So really, looking at what has been happening over and again in this country, he was involved the other day in this Basaja Balaba saga, compensation saga.
That was only 169 billion.
We lost money, and again this one, he was involved, 200 billion lost. So really, this country cannot be allowed to be, robbed in this manner.
You think it's robbery? People make mistakes?
No, these are not mistakes. These are well-planned thuggery, robbery of taxpayers' money. And I think it is high time we stood up and said enough is enough. And the right institution to do this is Parliament.
So what should happen to the lost money, the money that was spent? We should pay, you know, for the IDs. We forget about it.
No way. If we have to pay for this money, I mean the IDs, then some people must be somewhere calling, and at the same time, the country should be working around on how to recover this money. By the way, it is very, shameful if you look at the details of the report, how some of the monies were being spent.
How were they being spent?
The minister carrying his fiancée,
yes,
then carries his personal assistant,
yes. What's wrong with that?
To go to Germany.
What's wrong with that?
All out of this 200 billion. So even if it is very shameful and disheartening to hear all this, because some of the monies were spent on luxuries. So I don't know really what we are going to do. Even if we were to think of recovering this 200 billion, we may have to sell somebody's ancestral land to recover it.
You think these officers should be held accountable?
And I'm sure if Parliament does a good job, we are about to go and sell somebody's ancestral land.
And you think we'll get 200 billion by doing that?
Yeah, why not? Land is now a very expensive item, and the people involved within the precincts of the prime areas of Uganda. So I'm sure if we are to sell the ancestral land,
might be rich men. They could just be having.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Well, listeners, this is Spectrum on Radio, and tonight we are reviewing the week. Look at the National ID project. 200 billion shillings lost. We can't get the IDs out. Now the public is being asked to pay for them. We're looking at that issue and several others. Our guest tonight, Hon Bernard Atiku, Member of Parliament for Ayivu County, also from the FDC party. We expect to be joined by Mr. Kintu Nyago, Deputy Principal Private Secretary to the President. You too can contribute to this discussion. Send your text message to 7197. That is Spectrum message, question or comment. Send it to 7197 and it will be read on air. Hon Atiku, some members of Parliament have been saying the immunity of the President matters of corruption should be lifted because the State House name keeps coming up in some of these sagas. What's your view on this?
Absolutely correct, and I'm in support of this move to amend the Constitution. Actually, if we were to achieve what the pressure group is advocating for, it will mean we have to do certain things in terms of amending the Constitution, in terms of amending the Anti-Corruption Act. So there are a lot of things that we need to do. And all this comes at a time when we have witnessed a recurrence of an abuse of office. And the question has always been, how do we hold the people who are abusing office accountable? How do we hold them to the book? Because when you read the Constitution in chapter 7, article 98, the President of Uganda, and you read article 99 also, the executive authority of Uganda, where the President has got all these powers to give executive orders. And look at the case of the national ID, where he instructs the ministers, the PSs, and writes to them. The other day, the way he instructed the Governor Bank of Uganda should be protected by these sections of the Constitution. So it is important to look into this and see how we can amend these articles so that it becomes dangerous for the executive to think I can do something and get away with it. At the moment, he can do anything and get away with it, even in this very national ID project.
Well, but there's no way in the national interest. So
there's no way he's going to be held accountable because the Constitution protects him, and that is why in the Basaja Valaba compensation saga, he had to sacrifice the ministers.
And he's sacrificing
of course, when they sat in a meeting, he told them take political responsibility because it's the appointing authority. So that is how things are. But to curb all these misdeeds, I think it's the right time for us to think of amending the Constitution. It's the right time for us to think of amending the Anti-Corruption Act, so that we don't wait for somebody to leave office before we begin engaging the person in terms of prosecution. Otherwise, these losses that we're incurring are costing lives, they're costing us a lot in terms of our livelihood as Ugandans.
But what's the logic? I mean, you begin to encumber the office of the president.
Automatically, there have to be mechanisms to see to it that if the sitting president is in court, then somebody must be
somewhere either in Buganda Road or Mwanga too.
Exactly.
In old campus.
So really, for me, it is a good move to make sure that whoever is assuming the office of the president, to know that he is not above the law if he does certain things recklessly, the way the current president has been writing letters, executive letters, giving directives.
That's not being reckless, that's providing guidance.
Of course, what would you call such orders when they are costing over 200 billion in terms of losses, over 162 billion in terms of losses to Ugandans, taxpayers' money? So really, we need the law to be amended to ensure that people do not just think of giving orders knowing that they are protected by the law.
And what technically happens when it's lifted, in case it's lifted?
Of course, that will be a very good move. You will see somebody conforming to what should be done. The limits of an officer in an office, and respecting institutions. Of course, Edmond, as I said earlier on this show, our problem has been the respect for institutions that have been put in place. I just imagine if the president allowed the Ministry of Internal Affairs to do their work the way they are supposed to do it, if they allowed Ministry of ICT to do their work the way they are supposed to do it, if they allowed the PPDA to do its work as per the law that established it, if the president allowed Bank of Uganda to function the way it's supposed to function, we wouldn't be incurring this kind of losses. So it is important we must strengthen the laws that govern our institutions, so that when there's an individual in an office, that person will be obliged to follow the set rules as far as running that office, and also hand over in a peaceful way without causing this country any loss.
And why don't you wait until he leaves office? Because at that point he's a free man.
Of course, this country belongs to all of us, including you. You have an equal right and opportunity to be a president, a minister, an MP, anybody within the law. So we cannot say because it is the president or Mr. Museveni, he fought for it in 1986, and we must allow him to do things the way he does it, as if some of us are just spectators and we have no say. So it is within this provision of the law, the 1995 Constitution,
yes,
which says there is nobody above the law, including the president, apart from the executive rights that he has or that he enjoys. I think all of us have got a right, and one of the rights is exercised by telling the president what you are doing is wrong. We have been doing that through parliament, through other institutions, and even through the media. That's why the media is regarded as the fourth arm of the state. So if his agents, I'm a bit sad Kintu Nyago is not here, otherwise we would have allowed him also to say what his view is, because these are some of the voices that should remind him that this country does not belong to him alone. This country belongs to all of us, young, old, and So I imagine that we cannot just leave the things because the president is now there. We should leave him until he dies or he leaves office voluntarily.
Right.
There's nothing like that.
All right. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. We're going for a break. We'll be back. Do stay tuned. Like I said, tonight we are reviewing the week. We are going for a break. We'll be right back. Everything is planned. Look at the LC bicycle, 70 billion.
And they killed the prime suspect.
Yeah, it's all arranged.
Now the case is gone.
And the things they're doing, Kadaga looking for with poison. Now Mukula Iso, it's terrible. Kadaga, you can push it. This will be finished.
Now this one of Kidu Makubuya, I understand he was making noise in Luero. That if he's pushed hard, he's going to spill the beans.
This guy is new.
Why is he messy?
He's new. That's terrible.
Oh, good. Has he put it off?
Yeah, it's on. It was very low.
Okay. So really you can see.
Let's leave it. Let's wait for him to. Actually said it.
Yeah. You see, he pushed me. I think I'm about to reach my limit.
When is the report from God I admitted.
No, yeah. Well,
welcome back to Spectrum on Radio 1. Tonight on Spectrum, we're reviewing the week. Our guest, Hon Bernard Atiku, Member of Parliament for Ayivu County, comes from the FDC party. We're missing Mr. Kintu Nyago, Deputy Principal Private Secretary to the President. We expect him to join us. If he comes on time, he'll be able to talk to us about these important matters. Tonight, we're talking about the immunity of the President. You say you don't think it would encumber him from carrying out state duties.
No.
The Vice President can act if he really
it will actually make whoever is President very efficient and also very keen with where his privileges start and stop, and where other people's roles start and stop, so that you, as an executive office bearer, you must play within that circle that is demarcated for you. But we have seen situations where I want to echo Honorable Wafulo Gutu's words.
What did he say?
That finally, during Obote's time, he had turned State House into a clearing, house.
Yeah, the President said the late God had done it.
Exactly, and that's the same thing. It seems history is repeating itself.
No, but he's providing strategic guidance to his technocrats.
I mean, there's a limit to providing strategic guidance. There are certain technical aspects of procurements, of tenders, and what have you. That's why these ministries are put in place anyway, and that's why the PPDA was put in place. PPDA Act was put in place. So really, if you have put an institution in place to play a technical role where you are limited, where you cannot scrutinize certain things, then allow those institutions to do their work, and then they give you a feedback. And I'm sure when you look at the annexes that were attached to the report, a lot of guidance was given by PPDA, but they were disregarded. So really, what do you call this? This is a total abuse of authority and an insult to the existing institutions. Otherwise, if this was in other countries, you would see people resigning because their importance is not recognized. Otherwise, for me, I'm very happy with the PPDA in this very circumstance. They played their role, they gave the advisory role, and I have no mercy for the Permanent Secretary of Internal Affairs, because it seems, according to him, it is about his daily bread. Otherwise, he should have stood his ground and be counted as a hero for disobeying what was wrong. I can imagine how this man would have been praised if he had stopped, if he had refused to put his signature on this contract, saving Ugandans 200 billion shillings. And I think even if he was sacked, many people would have donated to him a lot of money to sustain him. So really, we must rise up as Ugandans to say it is beyond me as an individual. It is for the whole of this country. It's for the benefit of the current and the future. So when I saw the letters, the correspondences between the PS and the PPDA, you will see that this man actually reduced his integrity by accepting to go by what was wrong.
And at what stage is this bill in Parliament?
The bill has not yet been tabled. The amendment bill has not yet been tabled, but there's a lot of lobbying that is going around. Like yesterday, the movers of the proposed bill, actually the proposers of the bill, met a group of civil society organizations, and some of these proposals came from the opinions or from the consultation process, which I think is very good, and I'm sure once all these nitty-gritties have been worked on, the bill will, the motion will come on the floor, the amendment bill will come on the floor, and we shall embark on further consultation with the public so that we get all these views to see that we tighten some of the, the lacuna in the laws that exist in as far as preventing corruption is concerned. And
do you think it has mass support, or is it a minority thing?
At the moment, I think the support is there. If you watched the debate yesterday, and if you followed the Chogan debate, if you followed the oil debate, the Basaja Balaba compensation debate, you'll know that Parliament is in unison in as far as the fight against corruption is concerned, and I'm sure when a tool like this comes in place, I don't think anybody will go against it.
All right, let's move to something else, Honorable Atiku. Let's talk about the Masaka by-elections. Many people say that the Buganda Kingdom factor is going to be the main decider in that constituency. Honorable Mathias Suga of the DP is thought to be a leader in the leading the race, the seven-way race. Alintu Mansambo of the NRM is also there. Some people think he said bad words against the king. He's denied this, of course. What do you think is likely to happen? Who do you think is going to win in Masaka?
At the moment, I would say everybody who was nominated has got an equal chance to win to win that by-election.
In theory, yes. And just like Nyago could have been president last year.
Exactly. And when we begin looking at the issues, the current issues that are affecting the country, and the previous by-elections that have not gone NRM's way, when you look at also the personalities of the contestants, these will play a very big role in determining who wins the Masaka by-election.
Yes.
Is it Bukoto South?
Bukoto South.
Yeah, Bukoto South by-election. And in this case, when you look at the candidates critically, the Honorable Alintu Mansambu, the former Minister of ICT, has been talked widely about. The current national ID project that is being debated on the floor of Parliament.
So it's got name recognition. People know about it. They will vote.
Exactly. People. I don't know if it will contribute positively or negatively, but we heard that he promised the people in Masaka to support the UPE program by giving all the primary kids lunch, a midday meal. So the question the voters will have to ask is, where is the source? If the government has failed to provide midday meal for their children, what about you? Because the money MPs earn is known. When we look at his relationship with the kingdom, it's a fact that this is a man who came out openly to oppose the Kabaka or the kingdom at the time when the kingdom needed him most, because I believe any Muganda has got a close relationship with the kingdom, and for that matter, the least one can do at time of controversy is to keep quiet. And here, I'm sure the Baganda had him. That is why the issue of the Buganda Kingdom being a main factor in these elections is coming up, despite efforts to suppress it. And that will play a very big role. Lastly, when you come to why these by-elections, there are issues. We have always advocated that actually people who win elections through fraud should actually never be reconsidered for any by-election, because first they faulted the law. That's why their previous election was annulled. So it wouldn't be proper for such a person to be sent back to Parliament and what have you. And so really it is something the voters are going to look at and decide on. The other candidates, I wouldn't want to speak so much, but you look at a person like Mathias Nsupuga. He's the main person who said there's a fraud here, this man has not won an election in a genuine manner, so he fought for justice. So he's looked at, first of all, he won the first battle. in informing the people of Bukoto South that these elections were not conducted according to the Electoral Act. Electoral Act of Parliamentary and the Presidential Elections Act.
Yes.
So that is already a good enough a message to the voters that this is somebody who wants things to be done according to the law, the established law. And other maybe good in Matthias Msubuga will have to play in his way to win these elections. Then the FDC also has got a candidate there, and we believe in the spirit of opposition, this will play in their in their victory. Who knows, maybe FDC will say, DP, now let's reconcile, and along the way, let's give this to DP, or maybe Matthias will say, along the way, let's give it to FDC.
Okay.
So it depends on how the whole thing unfolds, but they have no time. The elections on 9th, is it 9th?
Around there.
Yeah, around Thursday next week.
Yes.
So that's when we'll come out to know who is the victor, but I'm sure there are so many things that have played a bigger role in determining the recent by-elections, and I'm sure the people of Bukoto South have also been monitoring what has been happening in the country and where they are at the moment. First and foremost, what happened during the general elections and what has changed, or for the worse or for the better. So all these are going to have to play a role in determining who becomes victorious in these Bukoto South by-elections.
Right. And how are the campaigns going? Is there freedom of assembly and so on?
At the moment, we have not heard of any complaints, and I think that is good news.
Well, Nsubuga claims his supporters were arrested because they harassed an NRM agent.
Of course, an arrest is always there. You can treat it in any form you like. Of course, if there's a scuffle, some people must be brought to book to answer. And I'm sure once they are cleared,
they'll be let go.
Yeah. So if the fact that some people were arrested, it means there's an order in place. So hopefully this was not an orchestrated arrest to deter one candidate from having mass support, or to disenfranchise one candidate from winning these elections. And my thinking is that it was done in good faith, that maybe police saw there was imminent danger or chaos. But if it is done with the unintention to disenfranchise one candidate from amassing support, then that is wrong. That's why we condemn it. But if it was done in good faith to ensure that there's level playing ground, so be it.
Let's look at some of the by-elections that we've had. The NRM has won only 1 out of 5. How do you explain that? And the one they have won was a sympathy vote. Of course, you saw when Gilbert Bukenya, the former vice president, he was celebrated. He was a loved person all over the country, even among the MPs. All over the country? Exactly. Not just in his constituency? Not just in his constituency. Really? Because he traversed this country promoting upland rice. And everybody knew millions of dollars out of upland. Right? Exactly. Everybody knew him as the man of the people. And when it came to the by-elections there, people just, you saw the sign he was putting up. He was not putting up the NRM thumbs up. So you think they didn't vote the NRM? Exactly. They voted the person of Gilbert Bukenya. When we go to Jinja East constituency, Jinja East municipality constituency, there was a resounding win by the Honorable Paul Muiru. When you go to Luero, yeah, exactly, Luero, my friend Nabukenya Brenda won with a resounding victory, even after the lady who prepared a birthday cake for the president. Exactly, yeah, the constituency square. So I think she's now closer to the president. Anytime she might give him one of these days. So almost all these by-elections, one thing that has played a crucial role is what is happening in the countryside after the general elections. When you hear Walukaga's news release, what does he say? Abantu bakou Right. Okay.
Exactly. 1 year down the road,
maybe it's because of the economy.
the changes that were promised, the prosperity that was promised, the packalas that was sung all over, people are saying, I think, no, these people are duping us, and they're beginning to see light. So I'm very sure that is what is playing. The manifesto that was sold to the people, and in different directions, the rap that was sung is
by
now,
the president himself.
Exactly. The youth are now beginning to disown him. So really, it is about comparison of what the message was and what currently is on the ground. And I think this is how the voters really should be able to judge when it comes to elections.
But some people think if the economy improves, like it will improve, things will be better.
The economy would improve if we were to put a stop to corruption. The economy would improve if we were to stop wastages. Of course, you are aware a lot of money was poured during the general elections. So that money is still playing a very big role in terms of the current economic situation. And then looking at the global trend, it may not play right for Uganda, because Uganda is a landlocked country. We are still importing a lot of things, so we have a lot of imported inflation.
Right.
And the current drop in the inflation rate is because the Bank of Uganda is artificially controlling it, tightening it,
sucking money out,
increasing the interest rates, and at the same time, buying money and using, giving dollars, trading in dollars.
Yeah.
So those are artificial, and anytime should something happen globally, we suffer the first shock.
Okay.
So there's no guarantee that the economy is stable and that kind of thing.
Let's talk about the FDC. This week, another shadow minister resigned from her position, citing personal reasons. Now, this is still a trouble spot for Nathan Nandela Mafari, the leader of opposition. But another FDC internal poll has shown that the race to replace Dr. Abeji, and this is your party, is seems to favor Nandela with 25%, and Mujisha Amun, former army commander, with 23%, Katun to another contender at 12%. That's a very close race, at least between the top.
Sure.
Two. About 1,000 people were polled for this poll. What do you think about this kind of result?
Like I would admit, there are problems across the board, and the FDC as a party has had its own challenges, which I think are not going to bring the party down. Of course, when there are challenges, that means there are some people who are somewhere in the corner working around to fix it. And in the similar way, in Parliament, the FDC as a party has got its own challenges. Not everybody will always be on the right side or on the left-hand side, and so we expect this to happen, and even more to happen. But what will stand as a test of leadership is how this is going to be fixed. Of course, the recent resignation of Honorable E.B. Florence took many of us by surprise, because we have never had her complain, or though yesterday when I asked her what the problem was, she told me it's a long story, but she cited personal reasons and a few issues within the FDC as an office, not that there was a foreign hand from another party. Exactly, and she's a lady who opens up, and I'm sure at appropriate time she'll be able to share why she put in her resignation, and who knows, she might come back, or she might still continue to work within the party to strengthen the party within Parliament. So this really, to me, is not something big, but the importance of the resignation comes in the sense that it will be interpreted in different ways. At a time when the Honorable Nandela Mafabi is seeking for support to become the next party president.
His troops are exiting.
Exactly, so this will in one way or the other weaken him in his bid to lead the party. But we have to see how he responds to this and how he brings back harmony within the party. And as members of FDC within the Parliament, Ours is to say, yes, let's listen to both sides where the problems have arisen, and then we fix it.
Let's look at Mugisha Muntu. Some people think he's too quiet, too diplomatic, but the polling result shows a different story. Could he wrest it from Dr. Besigye, away from Nandala?
I've happened to work with both Nandala Mafabi, retired Colonel Dr. Kizito Besigye, even General Muntu, and all these are capable leaders, and these are people who have a wealth of information and experience in terms of their association with the history of the NRM and how they came out of it and how they have been able to analyze the challenges that existed in the movement, the UPDF, from NRA, from the Bush War to date. So we think whether one of them becomes the party leader or even eventually becomes the president, they are still useful in the history of this country. That is why I think the door remains open, and I want to say they are all capable of leading this country and FDC in the right direction. So Mugisha Muntu, I think, is a possible,
You think he could take it away from Nandala? Nandala was seen as a front runner in the game.
Of course, as the polls indicate, Nandala is leading, and
this is 25-23.
This is a small sample space. I mean, a sample size. But I'm sure you know FDC for always doing their things openly. We will see the true picture at a time when we sit for our delegates conference, which is not far. And when this delegates conference sits, these two or many contenders will be given an opportunity to express themselves, and we as voters within the NEC and the FDC fraternity will cast our votes according to how they present themselves. Otherwise, as of now, it's still too early to say Nandala is the leader or Mugisha Muntu is this. So we still take them as contenders, and we'll keep monitoring the space. And when the right time comes, then we will rally behind whoever we think is the right person to face any other candidate from NRM, UPC, DP, whatever.
Do you think there's another candidate beyond the three?
I've not seen people showing interest, but who knows? I might even throw in my CV.
Let's talk about the DRC, from the FDC to the DRC. Today, 600 DRC troops crossed over into Uganda as rebels led by renegade General Bosco Ntaganda, now wanted by the International Criminal Court for suspected war crimes, say they had seized the eastern town in Zaire in the Congo of Bunagana on the border with Uganda. They had been fighting for several days. Now we know there's a UN peacekeeper that was killed and many people have been displaced. Do you think this is going to affect the security for the two countries, possibly even beyond Rwanda and other countries?
It's already affecting the security and harmony of the region, I should say, because these over 2,000 civilians who have crossed the borders in Uganda, and others have crossed into Rwanda. Maybe others have already gone beyond Uganda, in Kenya or Tanzania and wherever, Burundi, because these are all neighboring countries, and the way people move in this country, you can believe with me, they'll find comfort anywhere. So, as a matter of fact, we think as Uganda, this is something that we as a country should get interested in. And of course, you have always had the, what do we call them, the rebels in Kasese, who are
the Pierre.
Not the Pierre.
Go on. I remember the name.
Yeah, this is in Congo. ADF, exactly. Yeah, the Allied Democratic Forces. They're in Congo, and they also group from Rwanda. They're in Congo.
Yes.
And all those are potential sources of destabilization for the region as East Africa. So it is in the interest of our country to find a way of dealing with this group of rebels in Indiara, closely with the government, the sitting government of Joe Kabila. But I've always held this as a view. Just like South Sudan, the original Sudan, Congo is one of the biggest countries on the continent. And it will be in the interest of harmony or of effective administration to maybe subdivide DR Congo. Yeah, exactly, for effective administration.
Well, maybe we'll talk about that another time. But before we go, somebody say Mr. B. Mayanja. I don't know if it's Mr. Maybe B. Mayanja. Says the corruption scandals under the NRM government are sickening. Institutions like the PPDA, DPP, that's Director of Public Prosecutions, are not allowed to work independently. That's B. Mayanja. We have to go now. Thank you very much, India. The second one didn't turn up, but we had Hon Bernard Atiku, a Member of Parliament for Ayivu County and member of the FDC. Thank you very much for coming to Spectrum tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmond. The Spectrum will be back on Monday. Up next is the news in English.